Do you feel any differently?
No, I mean, I think the coding is for a lot of people a self-driven activity, right? And it's like, okay, all three of us.
So no one should be forced to learn to code, is what you're saying.
Well, hold on, just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
I think the people who gain the most out of it are the people who teach themselves,
Seek it
right?
out.
So we have a self-selecting group right here, right?
Right.
We have 3 people who taught themselves how to code, and have then put that to use in our daily work, right? It's like, I personally think everyone should learn, because I think that math is taught in schools, and that's kind of useless compared to, say, what you can do with coding right now, right? But I don't know. Like, I think we're self-selecting here a little bit because we're all self-educated, self-coders. You know,
Right.
people who use it on a day-to-day basis. So we're kind of biased.
I mean, do you think that people that kind of were taught to code or chose coding as a profession might be probably weaker coders, or like because my path was that it was my calling, right? It definitely was my calling.
Yeah.
Mainly because I was grounded so much as a kid.
Yeah.
My mom took everything out of my room except for my computer. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that every
Stuff that is more applicable for day-to-day life like that should be. I mean, I think coding is a real skill that people can use to get real jobs, and I think schools should be focusing more on that, right? As opposed to like higher theoretical stuff. Like, I think everyone should learn math to an extent, but then should learn, you know, how math really applies to your life, as opposed to continuing to do calculus and whatever into
English degrees.
English degrees, right? Yeah.
right. So you're saying at one point people should be exposed to it, but
Yeah, I think the same with math. It's like you should be able to be exposed to it, and you should work out what, if it's for you, you know, and if it is, you should be able to take electives and do whatever. I don't think it's something that everyone needs to be amazingly proficient at, but it's something that everyone needs to get the gist of how it works, you know.
that covers that segment. So people,
I don't think there's a lot of controversy there. I think we should move on to a more controversial topic.
You have a bunch of coders sitting up there. That's
Yeah.
a diversity of
Yeah, let's.
I mean,
Okay,
well,
so-
I can throw a wrench in for you.
okay,
So, okay, you say so it's practical. So do you believe that basic, so actually, for me, define basic coding. You said everyone should learn basic, like how it kind of works. So what is that?
I think just talking about basic, the language.
no.
But I'll take it, that works. I mean, just the concept of taking a text editor, writing something in it, and then getting a, you know, piece of code, and then compiling or whatever, interpreting, you know, and then having that run, you know, just variables, you know, the core concepts that's involved in coding, not necessarily putting together a massive project or like working for 6 months to, you know, build something of consequence, but having done, you know, like I took an intro to programming course at college, and that was, I'm glad I did it, because while my degree wasn't focused on
It doesn't
programming.
show. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen my code.
You need to take
Yeah.
that over. Maybe.
Yeah.
Did you pass that class? Is that a thing that?
Well,
Was it passed?
we don't really have grades like that.
Your teacher was like,
koala.
I was the one of 2 kangaroos. Yeah.
So someone said that to learn to program is to learn to think. Is that right?
I mean, I think that's a bit grandiose, but sure.
Yeah, it teaches you how to think, right? It teaches you how to go start with some like precursor variables and consume them in some way and produce some output, which requires logic, right?
Yeah, I think it helps you understand how a computer works from start to finish, right? It's like, you know, a computer is such
It doesn't necessarily teach you how to Man, I am
You guys
already
just all said be self-taught. It speaks to a deeper problem. Why did you all have to self-teach?
Yeah.
Everything you do
Right.
to computer level 1 is word processing. You learn how to type.
Yeah.
That's it.
So by the time I'd started with actual computer shit at school, I was already well beyond that level. So I think, why is it that people who are good at this shit are all self-taught? Why is it that so few people are like, oh, I picked up programming in college, right? No one says that. They're like, oh, I the first time I started programming was in college, and that's where I got good, and that's how I became a software developer. You know,
Well, I think
you
that's because we all learned in the pre-internet days, right on the edge. Like, you had to be kind of weirdo to be interested in computers in the first place. before the internet because it was a pain in the ass to learn how to program. Like you had to buy books and like you had to like struggle through them, and you couldn't just Google for the answers. There was no Stack Overflow, so like
read the fucking manual was your mantra.
It was a huge pain. So
yeah, I mean, I remember when I decided I wanted to learn C, and I was like 13 or whatever, and I got a C book that was like fucking 600 pages thick. And
you should have just gotten K&R.
K&R is beautiful.
I don't think I really had the conceptual understanding.
Was this one of those books where like it has itself out by like just printing out all of the like standard library at the end?
It does. It has really thick pages. This feels like a great book. Okay, so should everyone learn to code? Yes,
we're all agreed. Yes.
Thumbs up.
It's not.
Thumbs up. No, we're not agreed. Okay. We're not agreed. We are actually 50 and 50. Yeah, let's get someone else in here. Who wants someone else
dissenting opinions?
Let's get someone else who's strongly opposed.
I'm strongly
All right, let's get up here.
Represent, yo.
All right, so you say people shouldn't learn to code, and what's your name?
My name is Matt.
What's your full name?
Matt Hubert.
Okay.
I don't think people should learn to code.
Not everyone. Are you going to put up your Twitter link like down here or something?
No, it's alright. Maybe later. So, so actually I want to follow up, and I'll start by following up what I was asking in the corner there. So, if everyone learns to code something basic, like logo, or maybe to learn how to compile something very simple like a for loop or whatever, or standard control flow, how does that help you in a real-world programming environment?
But I don't think it's necessarily helping you in the real world as much as programming is becoming a part of the real world, right? So as technology grows, more and more people have to deal with technology. So if more and more people know how technology works, they can more and more accept it as a part of everyday life.
Right. And I absolutely agree with that. And I don't think that learning how to code is how you solve that problem.
How do you think you solve it?
You need to understand how a computer works fundamentally. That actually has nothing to do with programming. So they say programming is to telescopes like computer science is to astronomy, right? So programming, coding, is a tool to make the computer do what you want. But you're going to be a downright, absolutely terrible coder if you don't understand how a machine thinks and works. And you don't need to learn to write a single line of code before you understand how a computer thinks, how memory works, how a CPU works, things like that. I feel like it's important in our day-to-day life, like math, to understand fundamentally how a CPU works, how a memory works, and how all that goes together. If that interests you, you could learn how to make it do the things that you want to do. But as it becomes a piece of our daily lives, it's important for us to understand how it works. Because I think it's downright terrifying that a computer controls your money, your cars, everything about you, and you don't know how it works.
Does a 10-year-old need to know that?
No, but maybe a 14 or 15-year-old.
Well, 10-year-olds are learning how to type. If you learn how to type, why shouldn't you learn how to use a text editor? You don't know what the power of the written word means when you're 10. Doesn't mean we don't teach them how to do it.
Sure, so I mean...
Sub in.
Anyways, hi, I'm Laura Kelso. I work at Pasta Systems. Hi.
Hello.
Good plug.
Anyways, you're talking about teaching somebody a concept from start to finish of understanding a computer from inception to the end product, and we don't teach kindergartners this. We don't teach first graders this. This is something that's reserved for a higher level, but we teach them basic skills. We teach them parts of it. It's about introducing an idea and creating a career path that they didn't know existed before, and doing it at a younger age, and doing it as part of a curriculum that's standard, and that doesn't exist now. So there's no computer science in elementary school. There's no form of anything except learning how to type, which is something a secretary does. So I guess that's my point, is that there's a there's a clear benefit from teaching younger kids parts of programming when they're little, even if they don't understand from start to finish, and they're not going to all become these brilliant programmers. But it's inception, it's creating an idea in their heads that they can do this, and I think that's important. And sure, nobody had that 10 years ago because it was a very new-fangled idea, but now the curriculum is behind. It's behind by, a century, or not a century, a decade.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely true, and I think that type of curriculum should be in the schools. And I think perhaps it's good to introduce programming from a very introductory level. Like that's why we had Logo, which is very cool. And you can do things like that. And you can teach that to an 8-year-old, and they will get it. So some of them will, and that's really cool. I guess I feel like making everyone trying to turn them into a software engineer, I feel like is the wrong approach. So introducing the concept of programming, like you can, telling somebody that you do have the power to make a computer do something is cool, and maybe and it also can be a very great game when they're young. But I feel like that should rather quickly, or as quickly as possible, transition into understanding computer science and how computation works, versus like treating a computer like a black box and learning how to shout these magic incantations of it, and it will just do something at your whim.
As much as we should all be focusing on teaching people how to code, it is an important thing. What we're really all trying to say is we're trying to teach people how to think the right way through problems and actually know, where they're coming from to get where they're going. And I feel like that's been neglected for education a lot lately, and we're getting worse now.
And it's very. Oh yeah.
Well, you can talk about the STEM education problem, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. There's a huge deficit in our culture naturally that those programs are underfunded and underserved. Computing and programming is completely absent from anything, and I'm just talking about giving little kids the idea that this is a real career path. I built my first website when I was 10, and I built it from scratch with HTML, and I had no idea what I was doing.
That's how we build them now.
I know. But I did it in like a GeoCities page for my
That's how we do it now.
For my Neopets guild
Yeah.
page, and then I didn't touch it again.
We call it Heroku now.
I'm just saying that I took it upon myself outside of school to build this thing because I thought it was cool. But I was never told that that was a real career path.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think even missing the real technical classes in the younger ages, younger elementary school, whatever, knowing that that's an option and that's an existing career path and that's something that you can pursue from a young age is very valuable. So I mean, I don't care how much they learn. I don't care if it's just intro, it's just whatever. It's another requirement they have to fulfill. A few kids will be inspired and keep going, and others won't. And that's just how, early education works.
And in your defense, when you were doing that, it was significantly less of a career path than it is today. So now I would say, because today you can get, computing is cheap. Back then it was less cheap, we'll say.
Yeah.
But like today, like it is even more accessible than it used to be, especially with just the resources on the internet, like people were saying earlier. So I think like now more than ever is a time where that is totally that is extremely important.
Yeah, it just makes me sad because
So kids should be at least exposed to programming at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, programming and I think computer science.
So next up is surveillance culture. Are you ready for this, internet?